Welcome to That Girl Club. We're your hosts, Christina and Katarina, and we're here to empower you on your journey to becoming that girl in every aspect of your life. Join us as we dive deep into inspiring conversations with influential entrepreneurs and experts, sharing their insights and strategies to help you thrive. From navigating the struggles of womanhood to launching your dream business and everything in between, we've got you. So buckle up. You are about to discover what it really means to be that girl. Welcome to the club. Welcome back, That Girl Club. Today is a special episode because we're welcoming our very first, drumroll please, male guest to the show. The man of the hour is none other than Adam Bracken. Adam is a prominent figure in Ottawa's fitness community and the founder of the Fitness Lab, Ottawa's most popular gym facility and brand. This Lululemon ambassador opened his first location in 2016 at just 26 years old, and since then, his vision has grown into 4 thriving locations across the city. With over 15 years in the fitness industry, Adam's journey began at just 17, and he's since become a trusted expert, training athletes from top leagues like the CFL, NHL, and NCAA. In today's episode, we dive into his story on how he built his brand from the ground up, his take on fitness trends, what he does to stay motivated every day, and so much more. Make sure to stick around to the very end of the episode as we have a special giveaway for our listeners, and you guys don't want to miss this. We have a lot to cover with him today, so let's do the damn thing. Adam, welcome to the show. Welcome to That Girl Club.
Thank you for having me.
We're super excited to have you.
No, I'm excited to be here.
You're actually the first guy.
Yeah, you're our first male guest on That Girl Club.
So, okay, we really want to start with just tell us your story. Tell us how did the Fitness Lab get born? Like, how did this all start? Take us back to the very beginning.
Well, I started off when I was really young, when I was like 17 years old. I was, I guess, arguably like a glorified towel boy at like a local gym that was similar to what we did. I did that for a bunch of years. Didn't know what I wanted to do outside of high school. And so kind of that was a in-betweener. So I took a year off. Once I took my year off, I worked at that gym full time and then realized that fitness and health was kind of my passion. Then I signed up to go to school in college in the fall. I went to St. Lawrence College in Kingston. Okay. And then in the summers, I would come back and work at that gym. Fast forward to me being 21 years old, I got an opportunity to buy into a franchise of that gym. So I did that.
That's pretty young. That's like
yeah.
amazing.
So it's pretty wild to think back of like being 21 years old and being a partner in a business, but it was a really good starting point for me. I stayed a partner in that business for 5 years. And then when I was 25, it was a good start, but I always knew I wanted to do my own thing. Mm-hmm. So then I sold my shares and then hence kind of took everything that I liked from that business, kept it, and then took things that I thought could have been done better. And then that was kind of the birth of the Fitness Lab.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the name Fitness Lab? Where did that come from?
Honestly, it was in my last venture, so the previous gym. I felt like it was kind of just like throwing spaghetti at a wall. There wasn't really any science behind any of the training. It was just kind of random exercises thrown together.
Here's the exercise for the day. Go ahead, run with it.
Try and make it the hardest workout ever, but real, no purpose for it.
Right.
So when we opened the Fitness Lab, I really wanted to like program the place in a way that how I would program for my clients, trying to do that a little bit better in a group setting. So hence like the lab name tying in the science feel. Our kind of slogan is the science of sweat, and kind of the lab just worked with that.
That's, yeah. I see. Come in one way, go through the lab, come out another way.
Exactly.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Fitness Lab out.
Yeah. I like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us like when you originally bought your own, like, did you already have the spot picked out and everything, or what was that process like trying to figure out, okay, I have this idea, I want to open my own, my own gym, start my own brand. How did the first sort of step towards that?
Yeah,
what was
step
the first thing
one?
you did?
Honestly, so when I first sold my other business, I had a 1.5 year period to figure out what I wanted to do. And I sold it with one of my other partners. We both sold together and we decided like, look, we want to do our own thing. Mm-hmm. And so we had a 1.5 year to kind of map out what we wanted to do, how we wanted to do it, figure out how we were going to get the money, how we were going to get the space, all this. And then honestly, my old partner, who's still one of my best friends to date, right, honestly, near the last minute, he got some cold feet and he wanted to do something different. So everything, so he's an online trainer and he's unbelievable. He does an amazing job at what he does. And like I said, he's one of my best buddies still to date. Yeah. But he just wanted to go a different route. So everything that we had kind of planned for was based off of he was going to be a trainer, I was going to be a trainer. He was going to own 50%, I was going to own 50%. We had a large client list that, he was going to bring all his clients, I was going to bring all mine. Mm-hmm. And then collectively, that was going to be a good starting point for us.
Right.
And then from there, we were going to try and grow it together. Then when he decided to go his other route, we kind of already had some stuff lined up. And I sat there and I was like, oh God, how am I going to do this now on my own?
Like big curveball. Like where do you go from there?
Yeah. And so all of our kind of plans were based off us together. And so honestly, like last minute, we had already had a spot picked out. We'd had a location ready to go. The landlord was ready to sign the deal and kind of looking at me going, I don't want to lose this spot. I've put so much time and effort into this business and I don't want to just like bail now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I didn't have enough money to do it on my own. 2, I wasn't sure if I could actually do it on my own. And so I just decided my cousin, who was an old client of mine, who was an ex-hockey guy, I showed up to his house at like 10 p.m. and I just texted him. I said, hey, can you just come listen to me for a sec? He said, yeah, come on over. So we talked, and I probably about a 90-minute pitch for my business. And he had fortunately believed in me because he had worked with me for years and saw what he thought I could do and said, tell me how much money you need. And I told him how much money I needed. And he's like, I'm in. And then my dad, who I always joke, like, hates the fitness industry.
Does he actually?
When I say he hates the fitness industry, my dad comes from a construction background. Okay. And so when I bought into my first gym when I was 21, it didn't go the way we had wanted it to go. Basically, I worked all day, all night. Yeah. It's kind of like
drawing from that experience.
Yeah, and at the end of the day,
get into something that.
Yes, and we got kind of lucky that we got out at a time that we did, and he was kind of like, "You're out, stay out." And then all that to be said, once I revamped my business plan 1,000 times, he was then like, "You know what? I think we could do it." So I need a couple extra bucks, so he gave me the extra money. So between my cousin and my dad, they kind of bailed me out, and then it was up to me. Business. Yes, so they were silent partners, but it was me just kind of running it on my own in that sense.
Were you panicking? Were you like, okay, this is everything that I just put into this is about to like blow up in my face and like it's gonna fail? Or what were you going through at that point? Like in your mind, what were you going through?
Yes and no. Like you're obviously panicked. I mean, I think it's even now when I would say I have a higher level of confidence opening up new spots, it's still like you want to open the spot, you want to open the spot, you want to open the spot. Then you sign the lease and you're like, why did I just do this?
You're like, oh shit.
Why did I just open the spot? Everything was okay.
Yeah.
And so definitely at that point, I was for sure terrified, but I also had a level of confidence because in my head, where I was prior to that, I saw how good I at least thought it was. And it was still missing a lot of things that I thought we could bring to the table.
Right.
So I'm kind of thinking if people love this that much, and I'm going to add X, Y, Z to this already existing brand and make it better, and I already had kind of a following, I still definitely, I wasn't, I guess terrified is not the right word. I had a level,
Yeah. Could be terrified as well. I think though you had flexed the muscle of like taking that leap of faith from, at 21 joining and becoming a partner.
Yeah, totally. And that was for me. I was a partner. But in the earlier stages, like as I was 21, I didn't know anything. Yeah. I was a glorified employee.
Well, I mean, we all got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's how you learn too, right? Like you learn the ins and outs of a business. I think a lot of people think, and I've even had things like this where I'm like, I'm just going to open this, or I'm just going to, because you have good idea. Everybody's got a good idea, right?
Yep.
Laying in their back pocket. But it's like, okay, you figured out, you learned how this actually all runs, how this operation all comes about, right? Yeah. And that's what I feel like probably prepped you for where you are right now.
There are a lot of businesses as well that I feel aren't as successful because people come in at the top and think like, I can open this, I have the funds. But when you don't know every like little detail that goes into your day-to-day operations, when you haven't actually swept the floors yourself or know what you need to have the place operating, it's not as, that's how those like businesses crumble, I feel. Like you need to know every single corner and everything about your business.
And that's the nice part. Like when I started, like I said, I was 17. I've gone through every stage.
Yeah.
I've been the 17-year-old, towel boy that just sits there and cheers people on. And so I've been fortunate that I've got to go through each stage and move up. And even from that to turn into, a partner of a franchise, where in a franchise, you still have to follow guidelines. So you can't just do everything you want. So you at least have a layout of what to do, and you have some guidance there. So that was why I think, it was such a good starting point for me. And I think had I just opened the fitness lab when I was 21, it would not still be here today. So I do owe a lot to that business because it taught me so much. And honestly, when I first got in there, it was like the cream of the crop. It was the only thing going. Everyone wanted to be there. So I got to see, one, how good it could be. So the potential of what this, business could turn into. As I left there and kind of unfortunately got to see the downfall of it due to what those reasons were, I could also see how fast it can go downhill if you don't stay on top of it.
And what to do to prevent it.
Exactly.
In your case, I think also touching on those roles too made you relatable to your future employees, right? When you're bringing in that glorified towel boy greeting at the door and he's complaining about one thing or the next, you're like, hey, listen, I've been in your shoes.
Yeah.
I get it.
Makes you more relatable, more respectable, and more credible as their leader too, I would say.
Yeah, and we have those roles at our gym when we have like an intern position, right, that comes in our gym. And like at the time where I worked, it wasn't called an intern. Essentially, that's what it was.
Right.
But it just wasn't labeled that.
Right.
And so when I talked to him, I'm like, I get it. I know what's happening. I understand you're here from 6 a.m. until 8 p.m. Like, I've been there. I've done it. I'm still doing it, just in a different role.
Yeah, and I think that's your edge.
Yes. Yeah.
Speaking of edges, because you just mentioned at the time when you were a part of that business, it was like the one place to go to in Ottawa. Now I'd say there's a lot of competition. Would you agree?
Yep.
I mean, Ottawa's diverse. It's big. There's a lot. There's a lot of competition.
Yeah.
What do you think? How do you guys differentiate yourselves? Like, what do you think that edge is for the fitness lab?
I think for us, like the big thing for us is that we are obviously, community is a big word that everyone throws around.
Yeah.
We do a ton in our community for our community. As much as now we are, we'd be a bigger brand than what we were when we started. I'm trying to put such an emphasis on, we now have 4 locations, but making sure that all 4 of those locations still feel like they are their own communities. And what I mean by that is not trying to turn our business into a big corporate business where, the reason you came to our gym for a lot of people is because they know that you're Adam, you're not client 6, 7, 8. And so when they talk to you, they know that you've got 2 kids, that you've got, 3 grandchildren, you got 2 dogs, you got a cottage up in Perth. And so they're asking you about these things. So I really put a strong emphasis on our staff, from trainers to admin staff, of making those connections with our clients, because ultimately that's what keeps them coming back. And I know that as so many brands get bigger, they have to get corporate to a certain degree, but there's certain pieces that don't need to do that. And especially in Ottawa, Ottawa is not Toronto. Ottawa is a place that, thrives off those community events, community feels, and community businesses, and they want to support them.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we're big on community as well, and just that sense of belonging is what keeps people coming back, like you said, and keeps people together. And I mean, everyone has their preferences, but I myself have left bigger gyms to join a boutique one because it just felt like a community.
Yeah, it feels like you're more a part of something, right?
Yep.
And like, to your point, they remember things about you that if you're just going into, good life or whatever it is, it's like, beep, you're good and okay, have a good one, right?
Yep.
So I agree with that for sure. What do you feel like is the biggest thing that biggest struggle that you faced opening another location? It's like, okay, you got the first location down, perfect, nailed it, like figured everything out. And then opening that second location, like what struggles did you face during the openings of these other locations?
And how did you know you were ready? Like, when did that play?
Yeah. So we opened Manotick. Well, it was our first one. When I sold my other businesses, I had like non-competes and non-solicitations that I couldn't. My old businesses used to be in Canada. So I wasn't allowed to open anything for 5 years in a certain radius. So like, I'm from Manotick. My next best bet was to open in Manotick, just because same thing, small village, that's where I'm from. My family's from.
Everyone knew you there.
You knew a lot of people there. So that was a good starting position, right? So we opened up that one. Things went really well. off the hop. And I think 2.5 or 3 years into that is when we decided to open up our next spot. I guess there was no real like, this is why we're opening. There was an opportunity that opened up where a space that was an existing gym wasn't doing so well. And I looked at the kind of demographic in that area and realized there's really not much around there. And things were rolling well in Manotick. We had a good manager in place. We had a second in command, below her that I thought was ready to kind of move up and take on a bigger role. And so from that side of things, it seemed like the right move. And then when I usually open up new spots, I find the staff first, the location second. Whereas I think a lot of people find a location, sign a lease, and they're like, all right, now we got to get some interviews and now we got to find some staff.
Right.
And if you don't have the right staff, especially in like our people facing business, your staff are your everything. And it sounds like a very cliche answer, but like I couldn't think of a more prominent business other than a gym that your staff are your everything.
They're your face.
Yeah.
It's the face of your business.
And so I had 2 really good trainers that I knew really well through my previous business, and they were looking for a change, and they were already working in that area. And I connected with them, and I was like, okay, now we got a space that we hadn't signed anything on. Now I got the staff. Now let's go through the location. And they were amazing. And that was kind of the same thing. Then when we went out to Canada, same idea. I had those people in place. My non-compete had ended. It was right across the street from where I used to work. And there was already a following out there that I had connections with. And so I'm very much as it's not like, business 101, it's a feel thing. And once I have those people, then I look for the next spaces.
Are you ever nervous though when you're kind of selling the fitness lab and this dream to these people, right? To these potential team members.
Yep.
And are you ever worried, oh my God, what if we don't find that location? And then I've just welcomed these people in.
Yeah. And yeah, like, so our business, how our business runs is we have partners in the business, and my last business was all franchise, right? So everyone owned individual franchises.
Right. I did see that on Instagram.
Yeah.
The video you just posted.
And so our business, how it's different, I saw how, in my opinion, it didn't work well. And so when I opened up this place, I was like, we're going to bring partners in. We're going to give good people opportunity to, doesn't matter what their role is. If there's someone that's good enough at their role, we'll find a way to keep them. And so when I talked with these people that came to work with us, I said, like, look, this is the plan. This is what we're looking to do. If you do a good job with it and we grow the way I think we can, there'll be opportunity down the road for you to potentially buy in as a partner. Like, anyone that works for us has that opportunity.
Yeah.
Again, you have to create that opportunity for yourself, but it's there.
Sure.
It's not a no to everybody. It's not a yes. But if you're that good at your job, we are going to want to find a way to keep you in some capacity. And so with these people that came in, they left other places that they had worked for the potential opportunity. And a lot of the people that did well are now partners in our business. And then for them, it's as much as I can't promise you anything. It's up to you to make that.
Yeah,
but
you make it happen. You're giving the opportunity, but it's up to them to make it happen.
And as we continue to grow, that's what we have to have. I saw the other way where the last business we had grew really fast, but they didn't have those right people in place. And then it failed fairly quickly.
It's a very enlightened approach about your employees, your people, your colleagues, your partners. How do you think you developed that? You started at such a young age in different positions. Okay, yes, you became a partner at a young age, then you experienced a different gym, but how do you think you worked on your leadership? Because it sounds like you've fostered such a good community with your partners and with your internal people as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is truthfully trial and error. Where I was before, I think they lost a lot of good people because they didn't put those opportunities out there.
Right.
So we were fortunate that me and my other buddy that got into the business, because we eat, sleep, breathe fitness 6 a.m. until 10 p.m., 7 days a week for 4 years to get a sniff. And so we got in there, but there were so many people that didn't. And I think that, the way it was operated before was it was an owner, but not an operator. It was an owner that owned the business, but they weren't there on the day-to-day. They bought the business, hired a manager. They were there. The manager ran it. And there was never any career opportunities. And so what happened was after a certain period of time, like with a lot of jobs, especially in a small business, there's only so far you can go. You get to that plateau period where you go like, I can't go any higher. I can't make any more money. I can't do this unless I potentially have ownership. And if there's no opportunity for ownership, then they end up just leaving and going somewhere else.
And becoming your competition.
Right. And that's literally, there's all of us. Every single one of my partners right now worked at the business where we all used to work.
Wow.
Every single one of them.
Is that business still running today?
No.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. And so that's, to my point, there's a lot of good people that had in my opinion, had the owner been there day to day and seen how valuable they were, they would have maybe changed their mind or maybe put some of those opportunities out there. But when you're not there on the day to day and you don't see it, you don't feel it, you really don't know how your business is running or what runs your business.
You got to show up.
Yeah. You have no idea.
So I wanted to pivot a little bit into, you said eat, sleep, breathe, fitness, like I don't know how many hours a day you said.
Yeah.
Very inspiring, by the way.
Yeah.
It can't always be that though.
No.
Right? So my next question was, like, what I really wanted to know was, what do you think keeps you maybe not motivated, because it's not always motivation, but disciplined? Like, how do you get back on when you're not on it?
I guess the motivator for me is like, I've got like an ADHD brain. And so I need to, right? Like a lot of entrepreneurs, do. You start one thing and then you start thinking another thing and it's like squirrel, gone. And so for me, like motivators for me are like challenges in any which way. You know, for me, that could be a challenge of like opening another location. It could be running a big new event that we've never run before. That to me is what keeps me engaged. And that doesn't mean like, okay, every year I've got to open up a new location, but try something new. And I think like, you know, maybe you two can probably relate like with this podcast, right? It's something new. You're doing it, try it out. And then from there, I'm sure that will spiral into something else and you're building off that. I feel like if I just, and not to say just to downplay it, but if I just had one gym and I was just kind of running my gym in maintenance mode, I probably wouldn't want to still be there anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the excitement kind of dwindles. We're like that as well, right? When we have a project or something to focus on, you go like full throttle and we, you know.
I think the pressure kind of helps, you know? Like it's almost like the pressure of like, okay, like everyone sees like Adam Bracken, like the fitness lab, like everyone knows who you are, everyone knows the fit. Most people in Ottawa, I feel, know the fitness lab, right? Like you've created this brand. It's not just a gym. I feel like you've created a brand now at this point that people are really like loving and like buying into and believing in. And I think it's probably that pressure. Do you feel like it's ever like the pressure too of like, okay, I need to like
for sure
uphold that.
You have to or it gets stale. Like even with our gyms, like we do a lot of things, you know, we do some community events and people are like, oh my God, that was amazing. You know, there were so many people there and they're like, that would have been awesome. And I'm like, like there's no money made. So from a business, like from a financial standpoint, it wasn't there, but it's a branding. That was like for our brand. That community event creates our brand.
And continuing to foster that.
I think that's really important.
It has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be. If it's not, it's too easy. And like we talked about earlier, there's so much competition in Ottawa. I mean, you know, from my perspective, being in the gym world, there's always gyms popping up and opening up. And what are you going to do that's different from them? Why do you want to be a member at our place over any other gym that does similar stuff to us?
I feel like it's there are low barriers to entry in this industry. So you're right. Like a lot of people try to join and there's constantly things popping up left and right. But it's how do you communicate that value over others and then continue to foster that? Yeah.
And that's over years, you build a reputation, be like, okay, cool, they're a reputable brand. They're not just going to open and close. So if I do sign like a 1-year membership for them, I'm not worried that they're going to close up shop.
Right.
But in my head, you know, I always say like, it's not, in my opinion, it's not hard to open a business. It's hard to run a successful business and keep maintaining your business at a high level. Like anyone can open a business. Find somebody, whether you have money or somebody else has money, anyone can open it. It's not hard to do. It's hard to run a good business. And like 5 years later, people still talking about your business and still wanting to be invested in your business.
So in your opinion, what is the number one thing that makes your business successful and keeps it being successful? You don't just have to pick one thing, I guess, but what do you think is the most important?
It's consistency. It's consistency in, you know, big word, but for me, what that means to me is you can't take your foot off the gas. I still, like I was talking about earlier, I still work every day. I'm up at 4:45. Most days of the week, I'm home at 7 p.m. Wow. And people often, a lot of people that don't run their own business are like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. Like, you've been running it for 8.5 years now. You should have other. Don't you have somebody that can do that? And you're like, you do, but no one will ever run it the way you want it to be run. They'll never put in the same effort that you will. And like I said, don't get me wrong, we have amazing employees, but there's just that next step that when you're an owner, it's just different.
Do you find it hard to step away? Do you find it hard to, you have like a hard time like taking time off or like not going in or whatever it may be because you feel like you just said, if you're not there, it's not going to run as good as maybe it would if you were there.
It's definitely better. And that's also the other thing too, with the way we've set up our partnership with the partners that I have. Like, that's a nice part. I can go on vacation. I can fully go on vacation and not be in the earlier days when it was, when it was just me, earlier days, like first 3 years before I had any active partners, when it was just like my cousin and my dad, it was like I didn't leave. And if I left, I went for like 2.5 days and I was on my phone, calling in the morning. Very different. Very different. But I also think like that's how it has to be.
For sure.
Right.
If you're not doing that, you're not going to last.
Yeah. 100%.
I'm a big advocate of like, I know there's everyone that talks about, you don't want to burn out, but at the end of the day, like there's too many people I think that start their business and then they're like, oh, I'm going to Costa Rica for a month. I'm going to do this. And I'm going like,
there's limits to like.
Agree. Yeah. But to your point, you got to be ready to hustle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I think for the first, at least, like you said, do you think it took probably about 3 years
to
get
to
that point?
Yeah.
So it was like hustle 3 years. And then now it's like, okay, obviously you're still hustling. Like
you
just said, you're up at, fucking 4:45 every day in the morning, but you can take those breaks when you need it. And if you are burnt out, you can take that rest.
Yeah. And that's just what it is and what it'll always have to be. The second you stop doing that, that's when things will slowly start to pull away.
Well, it's like your body and your muscles, right?
Yeah.
Like
you
stop, they're gonna your body is gonna start to change, your body composition.
Yeah.
I mean, you get one rest day a week. That's
it.
That's what you get.
6 days a week. Let's go, baby.
Yeah.
So do you feel, in your opinion, like, do you feel like you have work-life balance at this point? Or do you feel like that's something you're still trying to figure out and find? How many years
if you ask me, yes.
Yeah.
If you ask Grace, no.
I was just gonna say, how about we ask your wife?
You ask her and she'll. But no, I have been better. I've got a daughter now. I've got a 15-month-old daughter, and so that's been like a great. Thank you. That's been like an awesome like pullback for me.
For sure.
I used to always work like every single Saturday, and so I'd be working my 6 days a week, and then Sundays I'd be doing my admin work and emails. Now, like I said, there's way more systems in place, so I don't have to do that. So I do now when I don't need to be there on a Saturday, I'll, spend my morning with her or do this. And there's days where I leave, earlier. It's not every single day I'm there till, 7 p.m. So I do have way more balance than I used to have. But I also think like as an entrepreneur, work-life balance, like isn't a real thing. It's ebbs and flows. You're going to have gaps.
What does that even mean? Right? It's not the same as being at a 9 to 5 where it's, you clock out and that's your balance.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can incorporate that work-life balance a little bit more.
Yeah.
But like you said, I think being an entrepreneur is more about like, it's your life.
Yep.
And you just make it a way to work and flow. Like you said, ebb and flow into your life, right?
Totally.
To fit your lifestyle.
Yeah. It's very hard to just say like, every day now I'm done at 4 p.m. Like some days you might be done at 4. And then it's like when you are done at 4, now I'm going to punch in a bunch of hours, with my daughter, with Grace, and like, so you take that time knowing that might not happen for another week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever the case is. So you got to learn to just take it when you got it and then know that, it might be till 10 p.m. and I'm not going to see you at all.
Right.
So
Grace is definitely that girl.
Yeah.
We, stalked you and stalked her a little bit too.
Yeah.
But she's definitely that girl. It looks like she's killing it too. She's also in the fitness business or industry. Do you guys ever bounce those ideas off each other? Do you guys work together?
So we don't work together. Like she's just started her business 3 or 4 months ago, I think. She's obviously been thinking about it for a while. She's always been big into fitness. Like that's how we met.
I was just gonna ask you how that
Yeah. So we met at the gym. She was a member at our gym. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Right. Like
ladies,
Go
to the gym.
Yes.
No,
that's what I always say.
I tell all my single girlfriends,
For sure.
go to the gym. When
Absolutely.
I'm like, there's a lot of hot guys at the gym.
But I
Go
say,
to the fitness
yeah,
lab.
if you're a single person, get to a fitness lab near you.
That's true, because then you find people doing something, like an activity that you're into as well. Versus
Totally.
like meeting them at the club, you
Yeah.
know?
It's probably a better spot to meet them at a gym.
100%,
Yeah.
And so that was us. That's how we met. But she just started this, her chosen club, and it's been great. It's an online business, so it's very different. Like, that's not my jam,
Right.
which is also awesome because like we're very separate in that side. It's not a fitness lab branded thing. It's fully her, and she's done an amazing job with it.
I like her branding. Like,
Yeah,
she's off to a
she's
good
so
start.
good at that, and that's not my thing. And so we have people that work with us at the fitness lab that do that for us. So when it comes to that, I'm of no help for her. She'll bounce some ideas off when it comes to like pricing and figuring out how to run certain things there.
For sure, more like the business.
Yeah, and I'll guide her with, some little things that I've done along the way. But for the most part, honestly, I've, when she first started it, I'd said to her, like, I'm here if you need me, but I don't think you need me. And I want you to be the reason why you're successful or unsuccessful.
For sure.
So this is like, I want you to, like, when this blows up, which I think, it's going at a really good pace right now for her, and she's doing an amazing job with it. So when it gets to that point, I want it to be fully for her, to be like, she did this.
Yeah.
And also not, because I'm in the fitness industry, for others to not think like, oh, wow, they kind of just like, he's spoon fed, like,
piggybacking on
yeah. I've done absolutely nothing. If anything, like, she's done more for my brand than I've done for hers. So
She's going to be listening to this being like, thanks,
there you go. Perfect.
Shout out, Grace. Yeah, literally. I love it. Yeah. I had a thought as we were saying, okay, because now you've discussed Grace's business versus yours, but I just wanted to get into like men and women in fitness.
Yep.
Your thoughts on that? Like, there's so much that people hear out there.
Yeah. Like, in your opinion, do you feel that men and women should train differently, or do you feel like it's the same?
It's the same, and I don't necessarily think it's a male or female thing. I think it's honestly, it's a what are you looking for out of fitness thing. I think a lot, 10, 15, 20 years ago, people are like, oh, like, women shouldn't do this, and men shouldn't do this, and women should only do this, and men should do that. Like, there's a target for each and every individual, and the very black and white is a lot of guys want to have a strong, good-looking upper body, and a lot of women really want to focus on their lower body. That's like,
I guess we have like opposite,
that's the standard.
like, end result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
like goals.
no, am I gonna have a female client come in and do a ton of bench press and do a ton of pull-ups with her and not touch her lower body? No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But I would put a little bit more emphasis on certain areas, but that's obviously client-based. Like, I'll have female clients that will come in. Most of them, it's pretty obvious. You get a female client that comes in, and then I'm like, what do you want to train? Let me guess. You want to work on your butt, you want to flatten out your stomach, and you want to slim out like the back of your arms, your tricep. And they're like, oh my God, how did you know?
But most girls are coming in being like, I want a big chest.
Yes.
Like, hey, like, if you didn't, all the power to you, girl.
For sure.
Like, 100%.
Yeah, and that's
just living the same reality, really.
Yeah, and so it's really, like I said, it's a preference. If I had a female that wanted to do that, sure, let's do it. But that's when it comes to just like, what are your goals? And strength training is just becoming so much more prominent in the fitness industry now, which is amazing because forever, I would say women in particular didn't want to touch weights. Yeah. Now it's just like all the science, all the research is out there.
It's changed completely.
Pushing everyone towards, now everyone's like, yo, I want to do more strength training. I want to do this. I want to do more of that. So it's great.
Do you think you'll ever switch up the workouts at Fitness Lab, or is it always going to be more that like conditioning, more Metcon style that you call it, right? Which is more like conditioning, cardio, high intensity, and then the strength, which is like strictly weight training. Do you think you'll always keep those two? Is there any plans to innovate in the future?
So we will always keep those two, but it's funny you asked that because we've talked about it over the last little bit, especially, fitness, information on health and wellness is just so much more accessible now with podcasts.
100%.
So people in the fitness industry, you're getting like doctors now, you're getting, professors from big schools that have now started podcasts that people are listening to.
A lot of opinions,
And a lot of opinions, but all of it now is going towards more strength training. Whereas, 15 years ago, even 10 years ago, when, we started the Fitness Lab 8.5 years ago, Metcon, which is like our circuit training class, that was what people were coming for.
That was the thing.
That was like, I got them in. The Metcon was like dangling the carrot. And then once they came in, I'm like, boom, we have a strength class. You need to do strength. Yes. And then the strength class was, all of a sudden they started doing the strength class. And so many people at the start were like, this just feels slow. It's kind of boring. The music wasn't as loud because you're trying to coach and help. Now it's like made a switch to people like, hey, we need more strength classes in here. And so currently our schedule has like more Metcon classes than strength classes. But we've talked about this with some of my partners, saying that in this next year, just based off of, science, but people are now understanding the science and having access to it. I would bet that in the next year, like we would almost be more heavily loaded towards strength over conditioning.
I would think so too.
Yeah. Have you seen an increase in people signing up for strength now versus med?
Oh, for
so
sure.
you're seeing the
already.
In your
It's pretty easy to look at. Like you look at our numbers and you look at the classes. When we first opened, I had to like beg people to try a strength class. Please try it. I swear you like it. I swear you like it. And then they would do it and they would find a way to like turn it into a Metcon class. AKA they would just like not lift heavy weight and go really fast.
But I think in your marketing though, it was very Metcon
for sure.
driven.
And it was.
Because like you said, that was how you got people in initially. And then it was like, ooh, try strength, right? But now I feel like you're kind of switching that narrative. And it's going to be like, okay, we're going to blast strength a little bit more now.
Yeah. And so I think that's how it will slowly shift.
Yeah.
I think trends are already shifting. Like you hear a lot of women saying how, they thought they had to go crazy and that just like spikes your cortisol. Like stop doing that. Like counter with more strength. And so
for sure. And slowing it down. Because I mean, do like the mobility too, which is really cool. And like stretching. Something that I need to do more of.
Yeah. Everybody ever. Yep.
Right? Yeah. It's like, I don't have time. Yes,
totally.
You just don't fucking want
you just don't want it. Yeah. If you have an hour, you're like, no, I just want to kill myself in a Metcon.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like success means and looks different to everyone. So how do you personally define success? And do you feel that you are living that definition now, or do you feel that it's still a work in progress?
It's still a work in progress for sure. And I think that honestly, if you talk to most entrepreneurs, most people aren't ever satisfied with where they are. Yeah. I'm happy with where I am because it was something that we always wanted to do. And I always wanted to be bigger than just one gym. I remember when we just opened one gym and saying to my dad, I'm like, one day, because like, just make sure we have some other spots like available because like, we're going to open more of these. And he's like, okay, relax, like pump the brakes. You've been open for a week at your first one. And like, you get some people in the door here first. But but I was like, no, like one day we're going to open up more of these things. And he's like, okay, sure. And so 1 was cool. 2 was cool. And then when we did 2, it was like, all right, let's do 3. Now that we've done 4, I think that each year when we open a new spot or do something new and cool, I'm happy with where we are, but there's just so much more that I want to do. Yeah. And I think that's a good trait to have. I'm not like upset that I haven't got to the end goal. I don't think I'll ever get to the end goal, which is I think what most people, again, dangling that carrot, keep trying to chase that.
For sure.
But I'm very happy with where we're at. And I think like success for me is just always wanting to do better. And then when you do better, acknowledging that you've done better. So whether that's for us, doing better could be, like I said, opening a new spot. That's great. And now like make sure when you do open that spot that it's a good spot. And then when it gets to being a good spot, now let's do something else. And so the process of starting it from the ground up and then seeing to what it kind of can blossom into and then being happy with how it's turned out, I guess ultimately for me is what gives me that like feeling of success.
I think you just touched on something where it's like, yes, you can be hungry for more and to keep going, but you also need to be content and like proud or grateful for what you have at the moment too. Because there's that balance, right? Like a lot of us have almost, I've been guilty of this, like destination happiness. Like I'm not happy until I get there. Then you get there, you're still not happy. You need to like, you move the landmark, right? So I think what you said just touched on that. It's like, you can keep moving that landmark, but make sure you're happy with like today as well.
Yeah, I agree. And that's where, from a business standpoint and entrepreneurial standpoint, I think so many people rush to that next step. If your goal was to, have 4 gyms and you open the first one and you're not ready for a second, but then you force the second because you're like, well, I got to get to 4. Yeah. Right. And then you force the second. I've seen people do it. You'll see businesses that you're going like, you're not that busy. Why are you opening up another spot? Yeah. And then they're not busy at that spot. And then they're opening up another one and you're going like, this is
stretching your foundation.
And then they're stressed. And then it's not fun. And then that's where burnout happens, because you're just drowning and you weren't even okay to have the first one. And now you've already decided to open up a second one. And then you see those ones finally, eventually it catches up to them, and then it goes. And so I think that's, kind of what I mean by like not forcing, having an end goal in sight, but like you got to do some things before you get there. And that's where everyone always says like, enjoy the process. And that's the process.
The process is hard.
Yeah,
sure,
it's very hard.
It's hard to like sit back and like, but I want this now.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
So like the patience is key, I think.
Totally.
How long did it take you to get to that point where you were like, okay, I'm ready now to open up. Like I'm busy enough where if I open a second location, I'm not going to fall on my ass. How long did that take, that ramp up time?
That was 3 years for us, Mantic. And that was fast. Like when I say like that was fast, most businesses take a while to get going. Yeah. Like we did it in 3, and then we opened up Leitrim after 3 years, and then we opened up Canada 8 months after Leitrim.
Wow.
So that was really fast.
There were a lot of learnings from like number 2 that helped you get to number 3.
Yeah. And Leitrim grew quick, which is what propelled us to open Canada. We opened Leitrim in January. We opened, or I think maybe end of January, start of February. Then we opened Canada like end of October. And that was like real quick. And so that was definitely a spot where it was probably faster than what I should have done. But I saw how quick Leitrim was growing, and we had 2 spots out that way, and I really wanted to go the other way. And there was an opportunity there that we'd been looking in that area, and like there wasn't really anything available at the time. So when this popped up, I was kind of like, should do it.
Yeah.
And so luckily I wasn't eating my words on that one, and it worked out okay.
I was going to say, you don't regret that.
Right? No, not at all.
So everything's worked out.
Yeah. It was great. It was, we had, like I said, we had the people in place. And if we didn't have the people in place, then we'd be scrambling for sure.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So we have one question for you. We usually ask all our guests, you're not that girl, but you're definitely that guy.
Yep.
So what is one non-negotiable tip or practice that you swear by that makes you that guy? It could be personal, professional.
I guess like having your non-negotiables. I always say like for me, I'm very like regimented, routined. No matter what, it doesn't kind of really matter. Like I'll use one, for example, for me at the gym, like me for my mental space, especially obviously being a busy person and being an entrepreneur and you're always got stuff going on. Like I have a non-negotiable of like, I need 90 minutes to myself every day. And that's been like that since day one, of like a workout. I need some kind of movement. And so even from day one, when we opened, I would like turn down meetings. I would turn down whatever I had to do because I needed to know mentally that I had that 90 minutes in my schedule to do me, whatever I wanted to do for me. And I think that's where you see like a lot of entrepreneurs get sucked up in that. You'll see them, they get started their business. There's no time to do this. There's no time to do that. And there is time. You just have to make that time and block that time off. And that's something that's never changed for me since I started this.
And giving yourself that time is going to help propel you and give you more energy to like stay creative, keep going in your business.
Yep.
Exactly.
And not burn out.
Yeah. And so that's for me. And that could be different for everybody. For me, it's that workout time for me. Other people, it could be whatever. If it's, it could be yoga, it could be anything you want to do, but creating that time for you and not allowing anyone to eat that up. Because ultimately, once you lose that, you lose you and you don't give your best self. Like even for me here today, like it was a rush for me to get in here, which was great. But I also like I moved my schedule around to make sure that I got my workout in before this.
Right.
Because I knew that if I was to come here, then I would be like, I missed this, or I'm going to have to do this at night. And
I would like give you anxiety.
Yeah.
To be like, I didn't get that done.
Yeah.
Is that one thing that you're like holding yourself accountable to every day?
Yeah.
It's like, this isn't changing. This is just part of how I run my business. And you need that. You need that time, right?
Yeah.
So like essentially make your you time non-negotiable. Your me time is non-negotiable.
I love that. I think that's huge.
And so that was, that would be my piece. And it's worked well for me. And I try and use it with all of our other staff, whatever that is for you. Just block it off and make sure nothing gets in the way of it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that too.
When I first moved to Ottawa, it took me so long because I'm not from Ottawa. I'm from like London, Toronto area.
Okay.
And when I first moved here, it took me a solid probably year and a half to find a gym that I really liked. I would complain because I'm like, I need to move back to Toronto. I'm like, I hate the gym scene here. Like, there's nothing here.
Yep.
And the first one I went to was in Canada. I was living in, Westboro at the time.
Okay.
It's about like, 15, 20
Yep.
minutes away. That was the closest one.
Yep.
And honestly, I was hooked like pretty much right away.
Yeah, good.
Like I said, I don't know if it was like the cute trainers or like
Something.
what it was.
Whatever it is.
But whatever it was.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it had to be going. And I liked the vibe. I liked the style of workout. And it was, like I said, it was my kind of like first, I guess, gym that I really connected with when I came here. So whatever you're doing is working.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Do you have plans to expand? Would you ever consider going outside of Ottawa?
Yes, for sure. We've considered it, and like that's still something like on the horizon that I would like to do. Like we've done 4 here. Is Ottawa tapped out for us? Maybe. I think 4 in Ottawa right now is a good space.
Yeah.
But it's just trying to figure out what that next step looks like. If it's outside of the city, cool. How do we go do that? Like the next 2 years for us really as a business is trying to systemize everything that we have and put all those things in place so that if we do want to go outside of here, obviously it's much easier to travel around Ottawa to check in all your spots. Like I go through all the 4 of them by driving. But if that's not the case, will we be ready to do that? And do we think we can still give a good product outside of Ottawa without being there as much as we currently are? So a lot has to kind of line up to do that. But we definitely, I don't think I'm kind of done here.
Yeah, it's not off the...
Not off the table.
Time will tell.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us
Thank you very much. Yeah,
So
thanks
Adam,
so
where
much.
can we find you? The Fitness Lab? You want to shout out
Yeah, where
anything?
can
Now's your
everyone
time.
find
So our Instagram is probably our most popular page. It's just at the Fitness Lab Ottawa. Our website, thefitnesslabottawa.com. Anything you want, basically you'll find there.
I love it.
Definitely get on there, guys. Take a look at the classes and drop in to try some for free.
Yes, I was going to say people get 3 free classes
Yeah.
when they sign up, right? For
Yeah.
the week.
Yeah. So you have a 3 free class trial that you can use over a 14-day period. So you can try, any of our locations, any of the classes that you want. You're not held to anything. We don't tie you up. You can do whatever you want. If you don't like it, you can leave. But I'm hoping that you like it.
fine.
Yeah.
If you've stuck around till now, you are in luck. Adam has graciously gifted us with a matching Lululemon workout set to give away to one of our listeners.
To enter this giveaway, share this episode on your Instagram story and tag It's That Girl Club. Good luck.
Thanks so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, we'd really appreciate if you could like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at It's That Girl Club to stay in the loop with your girls and join us in becoming that girl. See you next Wednesday.